Hey everybody, Coulter here. In today's bedding plant production guide, I'm going to show you in a nutshell everything you really need to know about planting hanging baskets, and really it carries over into larger pots as well. So more on that in just a minute. So, first we need to talk about what we need. Obviously, we need our baskets or containers, which are here. We need some soil to put in them. We need our plug liners or plants of whatever we're going to put in. We find vegetative cuttings are definitely the best way to go. These here are headliner petunias. They're taken from vegetative cuttings, which means somebody somewhere has thousands of mother plants and they can cut basically the suckers or the runners or the main vegetative part of the plant, and then they root them and then they ship them to us. The reason we use vegetative cuttings is they're very vigorous, earlier to bloom, more consistent. They are really hardy. They're just better in about every way you can imagine. And they ensure we always get exactly the same genetics. Another thing you're gonna want is some tags. Ours are pre-printed. Yours don't have to be. You can make your own if you want, but we're selling to the public and stuff, so we like to have the proper tags, and they're really honestly not that expensive. So let's, so what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to pot these up, and hopefully I can show you a thing or two that we've learned. Most of the time you'll be able to just grab your plugs and pull them out without any damage. Sometimes you'll get some that come in and they're a little younger or not rooted in quite as well. Sometimes they have to ship them like that for whatever reason, or they didn't get them to stick early enough, so they're not quite as rooted as they would have hoped to have been when they sent you the plugs. But pull them out. We like to do 3 plugs in or 3 plants in a 10-inch hanging basket. So then what we're going to do is we are going to come over here to this basket right here, and I am going to make sure that, unlike this basket, you can see I've already had other pots set in it here. What I will do is, if they've had something set in it, I will just very quickly, usually with 2 hands, fluff that dirt a bit. And what that's going to do is it's just going to make sure it's a little easier for me to put my plugs in. And then I'm going to stick them in like this. And I want the plugs to be fairly centered, but not super tight together. This is solid color baskets. So this is headliner blackberry vein. Now, when I'm doing solid baskets of a solid type and a solid color within that type, or a single variety within a type, the reason I like to do it like that is, if you put them too far towards the edge, the plant only goes out and you don't get any fill in the middle of the basket. And if you plant them too close to the middle, they kind of crowd each other out and they don't fill very evenly to the edge. Now, some of that depends a little bit on like the variety you're using. Each variety is a little bit different, but in general, this works really good across the board to do it this way. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pot these all up, and then I will show you how that works. And I'm going to show you too how we fill our pots. And you don't have to fill them the way we do. We do have a soil mixer and an lift auger for that soil and such. You don't have to do it that way. We built one. You can buy them. Sometimes you can find them used. Depending on the size of your operation, it will or won't justify buying a machine specifically for that purpose. So now what I would normally do is I will do all of these at once. And the reason for that is anytime that you can do the same step in a process for all your units at the same time, it really helps your efficiency out. So you're gonna see kind of what I would do from a side view here in a minute, but I'm gonna take this tag. Some hanging baskets have this neat little slot you can latch a tag in. That's neat and all. Where we live, there's plenty of wind, knocks that tag out, then it's not available for us or the customer. So what I like to do is I just like to set them just like this in the side. Sometimes people will push them way down. It doesn't really matter. It will eventually settle down more into the pot oftentimes as you water and such. And then you'll want to put your hanger on it if it's hanging basket. These have a little clip. You know, you just want to make sure that when you put these on, it fully clips over this lip. You can kind of see it's clipped under. Sometimes what'll happen if you're not paying attention, or sometimes it just you don't feel it. It'll only go like halfways, and then when you go to lift on it, it pops off, and oftentimes I'll spill the basket when that happens. So you'll just want to make sure it is nice and latched on all three, and then you can take it and hang it. Now, we do ours like this. We pre-moisten our soil in our mixer. You can do it in a tote too, that works fine. Not super wet, just damp, and then we plant all our plugs. Then I hang them, and if it's not too hot that day, I'll wait a little bit to water them so I can water a large chunk of them at once. You don't want to wait too long, or if it's hot, you want to water them fairly quickly. So you don't kill anything. We had that happen the other day. It got hot, snapped hot on us for a little bit over like lunchtime, and I lost a couple plugs because I didn't water them right away. I should have watered them before I went to lunch, but then you're ready to hang these. And you can just hang it up like we've got ours. The formula roughly for hanging baskets, the general formula is 10 square feet of greenhouse floor space per hanging basket, and that's if you're planning to grow stuff on tables or the floor as well. We are about 50% more than, or not 50%, it would be like 25% more than that. So we are running about 250 baskets in a 2,000 square foot give or take greenhouse. We're just really short on space. Any tighter than this and we'll start seeing things like the plants won't develop right, so we'll get lopsided plants, right? They'll, if another basket is, say, even where the camera is, halfway between both rows of baskets, what'll happen is the light starts crowding out, and this side where it's near a basket, the plant will grow to like here. And this side, where it's just open greenhouse, the plant will fill down to like here where it's supposed to. And so we want to make sure that they are spaced out enough. I have this is a 20-foot wide greenhouse, and it's 96 long, so for all practical purposes, I'll consider it 2,000 square feet. And so we should have 200 in here. We have 250. This works fine. We were pushing like 400 last year, and we had a lot of lopsided baskets. I misplanned on my baskets, and it wasn't very good. Which leads me to another something important that's nice to have. I like to use a spreadsheet. I take exactly how much space I have, how many tray spaces I have in all my greenhouses, and how much space for my baskets. And I like to kind of build a spreadsheet so it'll subtract each variety's count from the master counts, right? So this year I have 700 hanging baskets. So my sheet starts at 700, and it'll just actively show me as I add quantities of each variety how many more I can have before I'm going to be out of room. And that seems to be a pretty useful way to do it. You can kind of see here, this is kind of generally the layout. This is a very simplified version that's not showing the math formulas, just because I don't need that out in the field here in the greenhouse. So I'll try to do this for my hanging baskets and my pots, all of it, all my trays, my 4-packs, all of that stuff. But anyhow, let's get to kind of the action. You can kind of see how we do it and how we found works really well. There you have it. So we just planted all these up. And one thing I forgot to mention a minute ago about watering, is that we don't want to pre-water our baskets prior to planting them. A lot of people, or not, maybe not a lot, but a few growers will ultra saturate their baskets. And while it seems beneficial in that you may not have to water for a little while, it's kind of counterintuitive. It actually can be more damaging. And the reason for that is a little plug like this doesn't need that much water. And another thing is, while more moist soil promotes a little quicker root growth, which is what you want these little plants in this basket to root out rather quickly. And usually you won't see a ton of growth on the green and the main of the plant for, 10 days to 3 weeks, depending on your temperatures, your sunlight, your fertilizer. And that's because your plants are rooting into that soil. They're getting a good, strong foothold in the soil before they start expanding the upper part of the plant. And what can happen if you overwater after you plug them, or if you water really heavy, like some people actually water them before they plant them to the point where the water runs out of the bottom of the basket. And that can stunt the roots. A little plant like this has no way of using that much water. It can become stagnant, and you can actually get fungal infections and diseases and such like that. Invite problems, basically, with your plants. We'll be doing a video on watering here soon, and it's kind of its importance of how to water and some methods that are really important. Look forward to that in the future here. Hopefully in the next few weeks I'll be able to do it. One thing I might mention with the baskets is the cooler you keep them, especially petunias, calibraca or calabrosha, those two especially, if you root them in cooler conditions and start growing them in cooler conditions, it'll be a little bit later until they bloom, but the plant will stay much more, it will stay more confined. It will follow its habit more naturally and more truly. It won't become super long from being overheated. We've discovered that in the last couple of years. It makes a big difference, actually. So you can see all these are planted up. These are 16-inch spacings. So basically we get 3 every 4 feet. They're 16 inches apart, roughly, give or take an inch, depending on who placed them and how accurate they were at spacing it by eyeball. We don't use a tape measure. Anyways, but I hope this video on planting hanging baskets in larger pots was helpful. If you have any questions, if you think I missed something, or if there's something that you're unsure of, please feel free to leave a comment asking that question. I'll answer those in a future video. And we'd love it if you would like this video. If you found it useful, subscribe. We'd like to reach 1,000 subscribers by June if possible, and each subscription counts. Thank you to all who have subscribed, and hopefully we'll have another video out very soon and we can keep growing together. All right, have a good one.